that the fact that it's in the opposite direction of an ion, where an ion thruster would be, and you've done it in a hard or reasonably hard vacuum, and you're getting measurable thrust.
Oh, we have. We've been doing that since 2020. So for the last 6 years, we test almost every day, probably every other day, different configurations. So we zero in on a configuration, test another concept, uh, and that is an ongoing iterative process. So yes, we have tested high vacuum, 10 to the minus 6 or better. The champion get up to 10 to the minus 7, but enough to prove to us that there's no ion wind.
What kind of thrust in newtons or grams are you getting?
Well, we're still playing around in the hundreds of micronewtons or millinewton ranges. So I think the highest we've gotten is probably up to the 50 millinewton mark. Um, but that's when we stack these together. We don't learn a lot from them when we do that, other than we can make more thrust, which is important. But we like to understand the thrust density, if you will, of each thruster. So we're trying to optimize each type, optimize each parameter space that we have access to before we can get to larger chambers or outer space to test the mega structures.
Physically, how big are these thrusters?
Oh, they're not very big. They're about 6 inches, maybe 6 by 6, roughly.
Okay.
In that range. It's a nice size. We can make them bigger, but we don't gain anything by that. We just try to keep them manageable so that we can, do different things with them. Stack them, um, try different voltages, and then we try to measure the currents. We make sure that in many cases there is no current, which is very odd.
Yeah, I would say.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I'd say.
Turn the power source off and it keeps going.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it is very annoying. That in some cases, when we trap the charge in there, that's all that's required. So that really eliminates a lot of things.
So a physically larger one doesn't get you any more thrust, but you can stack them and get increased thrust.
Well, the physically large one will, but we won't learn anything from it. We can do 8 inches or 10 inches, which we have, but we're not learning anything from it. We want to learn, what is the best geometry, shape. We want to optimize. We know area is one of the ways that will be optimized later once we're in space. But on ground test particles, we're kind of fixed by the geometry of our chamber. Once we get some funding here, Drew does have almost a walk-in size chamber in his garage. You can walk in it.
Wow. Okay.
When that comes online in a few months, then we can test much larger versions of it. So the thrust does depend on the area, it does depend on the volume, it does depend on the voltages, the typical things you would expect. But we try to optimize it as much as we can with the chamber that we have actively running right now.